There, how's it going? Mark Cabuke coming at you with a video today, and this is a second recording of this video because the one I did yesterday ended up not working. So I'm doing it again so I can share the information with you that might have missed yesterday, so we can get the things that you need to help with your immunity. So as I said, my name is Mark Cabuke. I'm a naturopath here in St. John's, and my primary focus in my practice is gut health. And I see cases all the time that come in through my door that basically people can't find answers to their gut issues, or their gut issues have been there for so long that they've kind of manifest into different kind of issues, such as skin or anxiety or depression, or they might have the case where they're having certain types of bowel issues because of their what's going on inside their gut. So my job becomes to find what those are and to give lifestyle strategies and also to provide dietary assistance to provide relief to those symptoms. I have a pretty interesting job, I gotta say. So I want to do this talk about immunity and how it relates back to the thing that I know best, which is gut health, is that your immune system basically lives inside of your gut. So about 60% of it is located inside of your gut. So that, between 18 to 20-foot tube that lives inside your intestines. And interestingly, if you kind of unfolded all of that and kind of inside your intestines, there's these like little segments, up and down segments. If you kind of folded all those out, the absorption space inside your gut is about the size of a tennis court. That's insane. So think about how many layers of support your body might need to kind of create to make sure that you're not going to get, an invader or something like that built into inside that massive tennis court. It's going to take a lot to protect that, right? So it's not surprising that 60% of your immunity lives inside of your gut. The other thing that we know about your gut as well is that your gut bugs, the things that live inside your gut, are able to actually help modulate your immune response. So if there's things happening inside of your day that are, being dictated by certain types of bacterial imbalances, your immune system is going to have to kind of work to keep those at bay so it can keep you healthy. So your gut has a massive influence on your immunity. Now everybody's asking, Mark, how do I boost my immunity? What do I do to boost my immunity? And it's an easy question to ask. It's a harder question to answer because in reality, the things that we can't say that we can do is we can't say that we can increase your immunity by doing this. We can support the immune process. That's okay to provide nutrients and assistance to that end of the spectrum, but we can't give you something to say you're going to make way more immune cells now because you're doing this. That's not the right question. So the question becomes, how do you best live your lifestyle to the degree that you don't need to worry about the things that you're doing in your day pulling down your immunity? So think of it like if I gave you $100 bill and I said this $100 bill has to last you the entire week, you're not going to spend $90 of it right now the first day. Maybe some of you would. But at the end of the time, when we're looking at that, your immune system gets drawn down by numerous different things in your day. And what I want to make sure for this talk that we're going to do here today is that you're not doing these common mistakes inside your lifestyle so that you are maybe pulling down your immunity and becoming maybe a little bit more susceptible to the cough, colds, flus, viruses, parasites, whatever's floating around inside the environment. So that's the goal of today's talk, is to kind of get those facts drawn down. Let's get them on paper, understand what you're going to be able to do in your lifestyle to help you support your own immunity. So before we jump into that, again, I want to say thank you to the frontline workers, people that are at the grocery stores, people that are at gas stations, people that are in the nursing community, and the doctors and nurses that are out there doing, basically putting their lives on the line every day to provide the essentials that we need for our days. So I'm very grateful for that, and I thank you very much for doing that. And I think we definitely need to be heeding some of the warnings that our health officials are taking towards social distancing and getting rid of, the group gatherings and kind of doing the right things to protect everybody involved. Because it might not be the person that I'm talking to on the other end of this call that's going to create the problem. It's who you're going to spread that potentially with that maybe not is not going to be as diverse as you, or able to fight off those infections as easily as you could. So at the end of the day, we have to do our part to protect everybody involved and do the right things by social distancing, washing your hands, not going out if you're sick. And if you have been away somewhere, make sure you quarantine yourself for 14 days. Don't expose anybody else unnecessarily. So that's just the basics to reiterate what our health officials are saying. So let's jump in. I've got 3 basic things I want every single one of you watching this video to do. And I know that once you hear these things, you're going to think, oh, damn, that's so easy to do. But putting it in practice is different. So you're going to find something from every one of these three topics that you can do a little bit better inside your day. And I challenge you to start doing that over the next couple of weeks and days to weeks to see if you can change how you feel. So the three basic things we have to do to help booster and bolster our immune response is sleep, eat, and de-stress. That's it. You can turn off the call now. Just joking. So we're going to go into detail about each three of those things that you can understand the lifestyle and the implications that each of those have on your day. So first and foremost, let's start off with stress. So stress is one of those things that no one is immune to. And the really interesting thing about stress right now, there's so much uncertainty. There's uncertainty around like your job and your home and your schooling. And there's so many question marks in the air right now when it comes to the uncertainty that surrounds us living in 2020 right now, that it's not uncommon to be chronically stressed and kind of have those things on your mind playing down, what's going on with what's going to happen to X. Not uncommon. But what stress does to your immune system is that stress basically is going to force your body into what's called fight or flight response. So when fight or flight response starts to happen, different chemical messengers get signaled inside your body because your body's constantly on high alert, basically looking for danger. So the interesting thing, that stress hormone is dictated by a hormone called cortisol. You have a second hormone that's released as well that's called aldosterone, which changes the blood salts inside your body, but most people know about cortisol. So cortisol's job is to basically change your blood sugar. And when your blood sugar changes inside your day, the really interesting thing about blood sugars is that they're meant to be somewhat stable throughout the day. They're meant to kind of wax and wane throughout the day slightly, but basically they should stay kind of at an even keel most of the day. And your body has backup restore systems to kind of keep your blood sugar stable. So stress hormone, when it's chronically being released by your adrenal glands inside your body because of the perception of danger, what's going to happen there inside your liver is that your liver has a substance called glycogen, which is basically stored sugars. It's going to start ripping those apart and putting those sugars back inside your bloodstream. And when your bloodstream does that, yes, you get a surge of energy, but here's the trick that comes with it. Most times your blood sugars do this, up and then down. And the really interesting part for most of us, when they get to the dips, the lows inside the day, you feel your worst and your motivation's at its lowest. And what do you want to do at that time? Eat. So it's interesting to see that stress can have this perpetual cycle on our eating habits, that if we don't get that dialed in first, sometimes we can't solve the reason why you might have a craving for a certain food, or why your food is not letting you feel as empowered as it should because of the fact that there's these chronic stress hormones kind of making noise in the background. So we have to get that dialed in first. And that process isn't bad. But when that process happens on a continuous basis for long periods of time, when we get to this condition called chronic stress, that's when we get to the point where your immune system is going to start not listening to that stress response. So your cells are going to perform differently because of the fact that there's just been so much chronic stress. You see, acute stress, short-term stressors, can actually be an anti-inflammatory response to your body. Quite good to have that response to your day. But on the chronic end, when the stress becomes of the chronic nature, that cell signaling inside the body stops happening, and we have this condition where the inflammation keeps ramping itself up to the point where the body kind of starts experiencing these other symptoms. And interestingly, some of that inflammatory or some of those itises you might have their hands rooted in your stress response. So many times when I see people in my practice, when I bring them in, we kind of do the general workup. We can kind of see what's going on with their stress response based on their lifestyle, their sleeping habits, all these different things. We realize that their inflammation that they have is partly being driven by stress hormones. So again, stress isn't bad if it's in a short-term scenario, but long-term stressors, those can tend to be problems. And stress, I think of it this way, like basically letting the plug out of a bathtub. So because there's stress hormones inside your body, in the sense of the nutrients that your body uses to keep your body situated during a time of stress, there's more need for more of those nutrients back inside your day. So what happens, basically that plug gets let loose inside the bottom of the bathtub, and those nutrients start to drain down. And in particular, stress hormones can pull out some very key nutrients that you need to feel your absolute best. They can rob you of B vitamins, magnesium, vitamin C. They can rob you of these essential fatty acids. They can do things to your energy production cycle. So sometimes you need to start putting these things back into your day to make sure we're kind of staying on top of it. But that's way too complicated. Let's break it down. Chronic stress, bad. How do we avoid the trap that chronic stress can sometimes make for us. And the first thing we want to do when it comes to stress, number one, is identify the emotion that the stress is leading to. So many times people are so caught up in their mortgage payment, their kids not going to school, blah blah, whatever the scenario is. But we have to kind of dictate that's the scenario that's happening. But there's a response to your emotional system as well that we have to look for first. So stimulus, response. What is that emotion? That's what's going to help you kind of take the wheel back when it comes to controlling your stress hormones. So if you know that these things are making you fearful, right, then we can do different things to kind of achieve, not feeling fearful or setting yourself up in a scenario that you're not going to fail. So what I always talk about with my clients when I talk about chronic stress is basically visualize a scoreboard, and your lifestyle is you, the home team, and the environment is the away team. The away team is going to score points every single day. It's going to get to the point where you have toxins in your body. You're going to become stressed. You're going to have times that you don't sleep. You're going to have times that you don't eat good food. You're going to have days that you have more coffee than you should. But that's 5 points right there just from a regular everyday. So what are you doing, your own team, to put points on your scoreboard? That's what I think is most important, and that's what you can control. So can you do these couple of things to control your stress? Can you do deep belly breathing a couple of different times a day? Can it be 10 different breaths, 10 breaths just over a course of 2 minutes? You can do that. Can you get to the point where you can deep belly breathe instead of shallow chest breathe? So basically think of it this way: take a big deep breath in, your belly button's going to kind of come out to kind of, meet, I'm sitting in front of a table, so meet the table in front of me. And when I breathe out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to visualize my belly button's going back in towards my spine. So I'm sucking it back in. I'm kind of activating this deep diaphragmatic breathing, which is basically designed to pull the gas pedal off the floor and start pushing that brake pedal. You can do that. Can we get to the point with you that you find something that you love and brings a smile to your face, and you do that every single day? Absolutely, you can do that. Now's a great time too, because we have more time in our day to kind of put these things in order for ourselves. Can we get to the point with our chronic stress that we take time out? So many people that I see, we're going to talk about sleep in a second, but so many people that I see, their whole day is just a rat race, and then they decide at 10:30, 11 o'clock they got to go to sleep, and they just stop their day and expect themselves to go to sleep without that wind down period of kind of getting yourself into that mode of feeling sleepy and tranquil. Sleep is the afterthought. It's not going to happen. So can you make out and carve that time in your day so that you can make sure that you're kind of captivating on that de-stressing time? Yeah, we can all do that. And some of the things that really help with it comes to the dietary end of the stress hormones is some of you need a little bit of salt in your day. Some of you need to be consuming these electrolytes, they're called. Think of those like the things that charge up your batteries, like you plug in your iPhone at the end of the night and it wakes up, you're at 100%, right? Your body needs that too, but it needs these nutrients to be able to do it. So kind of getting some of those pink salts and sea salts and magnesium bath salts is a great way to do a kind of like an electrolyte recharge in the day. Making sure you're eating the fleshy parts of fruits, and those types of fruits are going to kind of deliver massive amounts of those kind of electrolytes that you need. So I'm going to talk about diet at the end, but can we make the diet work with our stress profile? The answer is absolutely. So there's lots of things that you can do for your stress profile. And if you know that you need help with the stress profile, you're going to find a link on my webpage, markdubuque.com/stress. And what you're going to find there basically is a stress questionnaire. And that stress questionnaire is going to basically guide you through the 5 different stress types that you might have. And I can certainly give you some guidance on how I guide you based on the fact that we know what your stress profile looks like. That's the true way to do it. Some of you are wired and tired. Some of you are mentally fatigued. Some of you are not stressed at all. Some of us have this point in the day where we have a mix of all different types of groups. So it just depends on what type of stress profile you have, so we can determine the right course of action to take with your action steps, right? The second thing I think everybody can do better is, again, get to the point where you get to sleep. So sleep is your superpower. So if you want to kind of do some research on sleep power, one of my favorite authors to read is Dr. Matthew Walker. So he does a lot of great podcasts with people. One of my favorites is Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's quite entertaining. He curses. He's one of those guys who's kind of easy to listen to and quite entertaining. And he did a podcast with Matthew Walker a little while ago, and it literally blew my mind, to talk about the things about stress and the implications of stress from the scientific perspective, and how much we truly know that with sleep, is one of those aspects of your day where it literally activates a superpower. Like sleep can do so many positive things for your day. And so many of us just get to the point that we neglect the importance of sleep in our day. So let's carry on that conversation. So what can sleep do to your immunity? Well, sleep and your immune system are tied, hand in hand, basically because that's when you're sleep, that's the time that your body repairs itself. It's the time that there's these different cells that are being signaled to say, do this, repair this, get rid of that, throw out that garbage. It's the time where your body kind of lets everything reset. Basically, when we don't sleep that way, we don't wake up feeling to the point where we're refreshed and ready to take on the day. And your body cells basically get to the point where they haven't had time to take out all the junk. So, how do you feel carrying around a bunch of crap that you basically don't need? You can't expect to feel your absolute best, right? And in a sense of immunity, you have to kind of envision as well, like your skin loses so many individual cells every single day just because you're living. It's crazy. You've got to kind of sweep that stuff out. So think about your gut cells and how that ties in, right? Think about these cell signals that happen inside your day that are hormonally driven. So melatonin, for example, is a regulatory hormone that you might know of that helps you sleep. But melatonin does more than just put you to sleep. Melatonin is a regulatory hormone. All of your cells are going to be looking for melatonin's production and melatonin creation to tell them what time it is. What time is it okay to kind of detoxify my cells at night? What time do I start repairing? What time do I need to start making more energy to be more kind of efficient in the day because the sun is up? Melatonin is the hormone that does that. And it's far too uncommon to see, it's far too common to see that melatonin hormone be all over the map when it comes to how it's balanced inside the day. And we can't expect to feel our absolute best if those cell signals aren't getting across to the right degree. It's amazing. We can also see that people that got the common cold, people that don't sleep, get to the point where the common cold affects them so much harder than not. And for me, completely anecdotal evidence, the second that I start to feel for myself that I have like a little bit of neck pain or I'm really tired in the day, and for me, my other dead giveaway, I'm a little bit getting sick, is that I crave sugar like crazy. I know that I need to go to bed. And I know that if I can kind of plow out, 30, 40 minutes more sleep in the nighttime for the days that I am feeling bad like that and kind of wake up feeling a little bit better, I normally can kick a cold really, really quick. But the telltale signal is you have to listen to your body and get to the point that you're not sick, actively sick, before you start taking those control steps. So for me, I'm just kind of quite bodily aware, and I can kind of identify those situations when I feel a little bit off. So again, for me, my neck gets stiff, I crave sugar, and I'm chronically tired in the evening. When those three things happen, guess what? I'm out. I'm going to bed. And a couple of weeks ago, when I posted a couple of videos, I literally went to bed at like 8:30 a couple of nights just because I wasn't missing anything. I didn't have anything to do. My body needed that time to recover. 3 days of good active sleep for me. I was back on my feet feeling absolutely fantastic. And the telltale signs that I had before of me getting sick were just completely gone just by a good night's sleep. So you can kind of knock some of those things down by listening to your body and getting those proper sleep habits back. And I think the problem with sleep is that we had this, I say had because it's not really there anymore, but we had this society where sleep was an afterthought, right? So you were supposed to pound the pavement and plow through and drink coffee when you're tired and, not complain about the things that you had to do in your lifestyle that were hard. And it's come to the point where now we got to pay the piper back for that, right? So there's so many people that I see in a run of a week that are very successful people. They're just absolutely burned out. And the candles has been burned at both ends for way too long, and the body basically ran out of adrenaline. And when that happened, that's when you can kind of truly see how you feel. And that point, that's when people start to complain with all these different stress and sleep related issues. It's far too common. So if you're at that point where you're burning that midnight oil a little bit too much there, and for example, you hit your stride at 7, 8 o'clock at night, you feel your absolute best in the day at 7 or 8 o'clock at night. It's not supposed to be that way. It's supposed to be the opposite. You're supposed to feel the absolute best you're going to feel from the hours of say like 6 to 11 in the morning, and then things are supposed to kind of stay balanced in the afternoon and then kind of fall off into the nighttime to kind of get you to sleep. So far too commonly that stress cycle is tied in again to your sleep. But we have made sleep not a priority. Sleep is an afterthought, right? Sleep is something you'll do when you're dead. How many times have you heard that? But sleep literally is your superpower, and it's up to you every day to activate it. Think about yourself as Superman or Superwoman, right? And you can choose what kryptonite that you can consume. So do you not sleep and kind of eat a little bit of kryptonite and knock down your superpowers? If you're doing that every day, fine. But for me, I'm choosing definitely not to do that. So sleep for me is a priority. I have made it a priority for myself for about the last year or so. And it's just fascinating to see some of the positive responses you can have by having a good night's sleep. And it starts with making it a priority. A couple other things to do with sleep. Sleep can also be affected by lights, so blue lights in particular, especially those on a screen very close to your face. We want to kind of dim that down. That kind of blunts that production of that stress hormone, or sorry, causes the production of that stress hormone and blunts that kind of melatonin production for a while there before you're going to sleep. So stay off the screens. And for me, what I try to do basically between the hours of say like 8 and 10, I'm in bed at about 10:15. I try not to problem solve at 8 o'clock at night. So the problem solve is going to activate those, well, what if responses inside your brain, which usually are stress. So things like reading fiction or watching fiction or history, for example, is something that I like to do for me. I'm not a great reader. Reading kind of stresses me out. I'm really not good at it. So I have a hard time concentrating focus on reading. It's not relaxing for me. So I usually kind of try to get to the point where I might watch a little bit of TV or, I might do some things like that. But I really try to make it a point to kind of stay in the dark for about 45 minutes after I've kind of watched my TV show. So yes, at 8 o'clock, I might flip on a TV show and watch a little bit of things that don't cause my brain to think. And then from there, I'll kind of make sure I have that window of no light exposure at all. And if there is light exposure, I use red lights in my room. So basically, our room at night looks like it's just red, and the red doesn't activate that kind of stress response that you're looking for, because red tells you to go to sleep. Red and yellow basically go to sleep, and blue wake up. So at the end of the day, that's what I try to do for my end of the day routine. A couple other things that are kind of really bad for sleep is caffeine later into the day as well. So if you're having trouble sleeping, I recommend you probably not get caffeine, say after lunchtime. And if you're getting caffeine in the day, I have no problem people starting their day with caffeine. It's the fruit of the gods, in my opinion. I love it. But we basically want to kind of make sure we curb that habit by 12, 1 o'clock in the afternoon to make sure we can kind of properly set up that stress rhythm again coming into the evening. So lots and lots of things you can do on sleep. And sleep is going to have a whole section on my 3 basics web pages. So basically, in a couple of days, I'm going to launch these 3 basic web pages on my website. And what you're going to find is resources for these 3 basic things: stress, sleep, and food. And you can kind of pick off, there's downloadable PDFs there, there's information that's presented, there's videos, there's breathing techniques, there's all these different things that you can do to empower yourself to feel to the point where you're actually getting the lifestyle things in place so you can start feeling better. And I think far too commonly, these very simple steps, they're simple for me, but they're maybe not simple for you. Like my basics aren't your basics. So if I can do a better job with teaching you the basics, I think that's what's going to be the empowering step that you guys sometimes might need to kind of start feeling better in your lifestyle, take control again, and let me do what I'm really good at. Let me do the higher end stuff to kind of make you feel like an absolute rock star, while your lifestyle can solve the things going on in the day that are just kind of little tiny complaints. Right? That's what we're truly after here. I don't want to be teaching people how to breathe properly and sleep properly. I want that to be second nature. So by the time you might work yourself into my office and kind of get some support with something, I know you're already doing all these steps. So I can kind of go ahead and lay what I'm really good at on top of that. Right? Does that make sense? That's what we're kind of looking for in kind of giving this information to the masses and hoping that it helps us feel better. The third one on the basic page is going to be food. So food is a beast. And here's where I think, looking at the trends of food over the last couple of years, yes, there's tons of information released every single day about what food is good for you, what food is bad for you, and what diet you should be on. It's a dime a dozen. It's a multi-trillion-dollar industry, I think, for a reason, right? So here's my take on the dietary trends over the last little while. The answer is still we don't know. So we don't know what the effects of cholesterol are. Something's going to be different posted in a month or so, I'm sure, about how cholesterol might be bad for us again, because now it's good for us. It's a mess, so what my best recommendations are is basically live with, I call them both camps. So many times you read literature, people are in camps. It's like, I'm going to lump vegan, vegetarian kind of in a group over here, and then people that eat and consume meat. That's the 2 basic groups that we're kind of following, right? And so many times people are trying to just stay in one of those 2 camps. And what about the middle ground? What about what we did for the last, 1,000 years or so when it comes to human evolution, in a sense of how we're, getting the right foods inside of our diet? And what we would do at that time, when we go back to the old school developing humans, is we would eat what's in season, right? So we would definitely have more vegetables and fruits and berries and roots when they're freely accessible out in the yard and they're not covered with snow. And yes, in the wintertime, we would probably help hunt more animals and have more fermented foods and have more bottled and things like that that we kind of like stored underground for these rainy days, and maybe eat more of those foods that are like, beans and legumes and things like that. Yes, we probably would do that. So that's our options, right? But now we have grocery stores. And at the end of the day, what's really interesting to see is that sometimes the raw vegetarian vegan camp gets you some success for a while, and that's great. I'm happy that it's working for you. And you also have the same thing, people that kind of go just based on meat, like that carnivore type diet, right? We see that work as well, or ketogenic can be in that group as well. But at the end of the day, I think the balance point needs to be struck between the two. So here's the basics of food. When you look down at your plate tonight when you eat supper, make sure it's half vegetables, and the more color the better. The denser, darker the color, the better. And then it should be a big hunk of protein, whatever that protein source is, whether it's feet, that's not having feet, fish, meats, beans, peas, whatever the case may be. Make sure you have a protein source, and make sure that protein source is covered in some good healthy fats. So if it's olive oil, macadamia nut oil, if it's butter, if it's ghee, I don't care what it looks like, but that's kind of how the meal should look. Proteins, fats, carbs, lots of dense colors, lots of dense, good quality proteins on that plate. Enjoy that meal and enjoy those nutrients coming into your body to have that positive effect. But far too commonly when it comes to immunity, that's not the diet people follow. We have this acronym called SAD, Standard American Diet, and it truly is sad to watch what some people consume in a run of a day. So, you go to the grocery store, look around at carts, people can spend, $200, $300, $400 on groceries, and they got nothing, everything's in a box. The only thing that's not in a box is, maybe you got some lettuce. Crazy to watch this in people's carts. So basically think of it this way. When it comes to kind of getting to the point where you're trying to help your immunity, the thing that's going to draw your immunity down the most is consuming a ton of processed and refined sugar. So if you can get to the point where you're kind of shopping around the perimeter, you're going to be already limiting the exposure to sugar that you have. So yes, get your nuts. Yes, get your seeds. Yes, get the vegetables. Yes, get the fruits. Yes, get all those different things and your meats, right? Try to stay away from the middle of the aisles where all the crap is. All the crap that's in boxes, try to stay away from it. Because what happens to the immune system when you kind of come to the point where you've exposed yourself to a large group of sugar is that those cells that I told you are kind of searching around your body to kind of fight off these infections called your immune system. They're basically depressed by sugar. And this is a really interesting study that was published recently that they took mice that basically were exposed to two different pathogens. One was a viral pathogen, one was a bacterial pathogen. The bacterial pathogen, when they kind of gave them a high sugar diet, it did horrible. So they basically came prone to the infection and needed kind of remediated treatments to kind of get them feel better. With a virus, and they fed them high sugar diets, they thrived. So the body's immune system can kind of do different things with different sugars at different times. So I still think to the point when we're talking about sugar, we in this study they basically did a sugar water solution, right? So we humans drink that. This is called juice, right? So at the end of the day, if you have something that's a viral in nature, maybe there is a time where you can kind of use more of these nature-made sugars. So eat more fruits, eat more vegetables, do that stuff to kind of get those sugars inside your day. I don't have a problem with that. But what I have a problem with is these, the massive amount of sugars that are just in the crappy foods that you're consuming. So take a look at your diet right now and basically ask yourself this question: do you start your day with cake? If your day starts with cake, it might not look like birthday cake, but does your muffin look like? What's your bagel look like? What's your cookie look like? What's your toast look like? These are the common things that we start our day with. What's our cereal look like? There is no good cereal. It's all crap, in my opinion, right? You could argue that, and I'm happy that you can argue that. But I think it's just all sugar. And that's going to keep you satisfied for maybe a half an hour in your day. And then I promise you, 45 minutes after you consume that food, you're going to have a blood sugar dip. You're going to either look for coffee, or you're going to look for more sugar. Welcome back to the hamster wheel that you set yourself up on every day. So starting your day with the right types of food, I think, is imperative. So again, if your breakfast has all the ingredients that you'd make for a cake, don't eat it. Look for something a little bit different. A couple of my favorites are omelets with vegetables. I love that stuff. I love smoothies. If you follow my Facebook page, my fan page on my Instagram, you'll notice there's a ton of different things I post all the time about how densely packed with nutrition my smoothies are. There's videos on my YouTube page about how to pick the right protein powder, how to make a smoothie, and how you conceptualize what a smoothie looks like for you, because it's literally liquid nutrition. And that's what we're kind of searching for in a run of the day, right? Not this quick, easy, dirty sugar that's going to get us through the next half an hour or an hour, and then we're off the rails again. So getting off that sugar, I think, is imperative. And we are one of the first societies, my generation, I'm 35. My generation is one of the first nations that basically is coming to the point where, we're over calorie, we consume more calories and we're undernourished. So you're getting a ton of calories coming in and low nourishment coming in from that food, because I grew up with the quick and easy, convenient foods. And I'm not old. So at the end of the day, think about it from the perspective of how it's gotten worse over the last couple of years with how convenient these foods are, right? So think about when you're at your most vulnerable time in the day, when your motivation's at its absolute lowest and you feel that you're just reflecting on the day and if you won or lost. That's between 7 and 11 o'clock at night. Watch TV, and what's on TV? Wendy's, Burger King, McDonald's, A&W, all these fast food restaurants, because they're trying to kind of pull at those strings to get to the point where they know that you're at your most susceptible point at that stage. And it's about planting the seed. It's not about kind of getting you to go out and get a burger at 11 o'clock at night. Some of you might be doing that, but it's planting that seed of emotion of how good it would feel if you got that burger the next day. And then that's the psychology for the day, is thinking about those burgers, right? So at the end of the day, food and marketing are tied hand in hand. There's brilliant marketers doing great jobs with food. So it's important to kind of break it down to the basics. So food can play a massive role inside your body. And think of it this way too. I told you at the start of this talk that your immunity is in your gut. The biggest thing that goes in your gut every single day is your food. So think about how your food environment is impacting your ecosystem inside of your gut. So if we're consuming these diets that are high in sugar and low in fiber and low in color, the diversity of the bugs that lives inside your intestines are usually going to be pretty low. So when that happens, we have these different things that kind of can happen inside the intestine based on the fact that there are these imbalances happening inside your body. I see them every single day when I do a stool test for people. We can see the diversity shift inside the intestine just by having a different type of diet. So most people at this stage of the game realize they need to eat more fiber. So when it comes to fiber, these fibers feed your gut bugs. They're called prebiotics. They actually feed your gut bugs the things that they need to kind of help them grow and thrive inside your day. So the challenge becomes, how do we get more of these prebiotics inside of your day? Most people do fine with the grains end of the spectrum when it comes to their diet. So leave that off for now. Just continue to consume, whole grains and oats and barley. And if you're not celiac, consume those foods if that's part of your day. There's nothing wrong with that in minute amounts inside your day. But what most of us miss are they're called polyphenols. Polyphenols are those deep red, purplish type of colors inside of your skins of fruits. And those things are like jet fuel for friendly gut bugs. They love them. So for me, I use pomegranate seeds. I love cranberries. I love deep, dark blueberries. I love blackberries. I consume all these things inside of my smoothie every single morning to make sure I kind of feeding my gut bugs. So if you're having a salad or topping a stir fry or doing something like that, make sure you try to include some of those colors inside your day. That's the biggest group of fiber that I think most people miss inside of their days. The skins of fruits also. So think about a plum, or think about these things like a peach or a nectarine, or think about those big fleshy kind of fruits that you can consume the skins. Those are where those big groups of polyphenols are located that help you dramatically in a sense of how you fix your gut. There are definitely supplements you can use for taking polyphenols inside your day, and I use those people that have gut issues. But this talk is not about what supplements you should take. This is about your lifestyle things. So if you can kind of make these changes to get more of those deep, densely colored foods inside your day, you're going to start feeling better. And all of those things are going to start turning the needle to fix the gut. So your sleep is going to fix your gut because it helps with the regulatory issues inside your gut. Your stress has a direct impact on your gut. Think about it from the perspective of, have you ever been nervous about something and had your gut feel completely normal? The answer to that is no. So stress hormones directly impact your gut environment. And the last one is going to be your food, which is probably the biggest impact on your gut, because it is the thing that your gut's relying on to break down those foods and nutrients so that you can feed this beast that you call yourself. So if we can do those things better, we're going to improve the immunity and stop drawing down some of those things that are kind of pulling on our immune strings. So when we are exposed to a couple of these different environmental things, or it could be a virus that's floating around right now. Yes, it could be that. It could be a bacteria. It could be the common cold. It could be just another stressful event, like someone loses their job. If you kind of do these things better inside your day, you're going to be much more balanced in the sense of how you're going to manage that when it comes down the pipeline for you. So immunity is a beast. And again, it's way more complicated than I'm going into detail on with here. But again, those three lifestyle strategies I think are crucial. And if you want to add a fourth one, it would be move that thing you're sitting on. So most of you are probably sitting on your butt right now and watching this video. And again, I'm grateful that you're watching it. When you finish this video, get up and move your butt. So again, it could be anything that makes you happy. So chase a ball, play with your kids, shovel snow. Like, I don't care what it looks like. Just humans are meant to move, and we've just become the sedentary society, way too fast, I feel. So if we can get out and walk the dog and play with the kids and, maybe walk them down the stairs a few times or look online with Facebook that anybody that's doing anything in the fitness industry has free workouts posted right now. Just pick a person that you like and just follow along and kind of do what they're doing and help yourself improve your own physical fitness. That right there is a huge step to improving your immunity, because that exercise induces those endorphins, those feel good hormones. And when those endorphins are released, you have what's called growth hormone. And growth hormone is one of those things that causes all of your cells to go into rapid repair mode. And that's going to help you with your sleep. So there's never a time that we should be at that point where we don't have any options to help with our immunity. We can do so many different things to help with our days. And I really hope that this video has empowered you to do some of those things better. So for me, I have a ton of things on my personal Facebook page. So you can see that you find that at MK Nat Health Solutions. If you're watching this video, you probably were linked through that from my Facebook page. Make sure you follow me. I have a ton of series running right now where I've published content. The Facebook is just kind of taking it off for me. So just making those posts. So I have things like meal planning. I have meal prep in there. I have the importance of sleep through an email series. I have sleep hygiene and what you do. You know what I mean? I have essential oils if you're interested in that. I have diet plans on my website. I have stress resources. I have so many things that's out there to help you. Just a matter of getting those things in your hands. So what I'd encourage you to do, if you like my message, you're hearing what I have to say, and you want to kind of take the next steps, are certainly visit the website. Make sure you're kind of following along with some of my social media posts on Facebook. So my website is going to kind of break down a lot of the things that I do well and what I do in my practice from the testing perspective, my philosophy, how you work with me, what a process looks like. You can even go to the point where you can actually book an online appointment with me, and you can kind of scroll through my schedule, see when I'm available, and put your own time in. It's so easy. It's not fit. And on Facebook is when I kind of talk to you. So Facebook and my Instagram posts, I kind of like sharing my message of this natural health world and the solutions that we have. So make sure you're tuning in my Facebook page. Make sure you comment and give me some likes, because at the end of the day, I love sharing this information with you. And again, because I have a private Facebook page, it's very hard for me to get that boost up to people, for everybody that's on the page to actually see it. That's the change that Facebook made to their algorithm recently, that I have to get way more likes or spend more money to get you, the people that are on my list, to see my content. So that's what I ask you to do. If you want to help me because I've helped you with this talk, it would just be interact with my content so that more people can see it. I'd appreciate that more than you know. I work so hard on getting these things out there, and I know that they help so many people. Just a matter of getting that message across to more people that are connected in your circle. So I would appreciate that more than anything. And if you had any questions for me and something you want to directly ask me about your immunity or maybe the situation you're currently in, I do free 15-minute phone calls. That's basically, we'll call them screening calls, to kind of make sure we can get to the point where you understand what you're getting into with working with me. I can understand your needs and motivations so that we can make a seamless transition from you not working with me to working with me. Very easy to kind of get that stuff rolling. And again, if you're in that stage where you're at that point that you need help, I'm covered under your personal insurance plan as well. So if you have a personal insurance plan through a work or through a business, most times what happens is that my consultation fees are covered under that plan, and you can take advantage of that and kind of get the help that you might need through consultation services and online programs. So thank you so much for tuning into this. I know that I talk really fast. I do that when I get excited. This natural health world kind of gets me excited, and it's something that I love more than anything in this world. It's my passion, and I truly enjoy what I do more than anything. So I'm happy to share that information with you. Make sure you stay in touch. Make sure you do what you need to do to keep your family safe. And maybe you can introduce these three big basic topics that I talked about by making a sleep schedule, eating better quality food, and getting to the point where you're doing something to moderate your amounts of stress. That will dramatically help stop pulling down the immune system and help you truly feel better with your body overall and help you move back in the right direction. That's all for me today. I appreciate your time. I hope we talk to each other soon. Have a fantastic day. We'll talk soon.